here's Brody Brazil.
So this winter has been a pretty tumultuous offseason for Major League Baseball and its teams and their respective television rights deals. Nationally, you just had ESPN pull out of the final 3 years of their deal for 26, 27, and 28, meaning this upcoming season. 25 is the final of Major League Baseball on ESPN. And then regionally and individually with the teams, almost a third of big league clubs this past winter had to renegotiate their regional deals with the Bally's sports networks, now turned into FanDuel sports networks. Lesser amount of years, smaller amounts of money for their respective television rights. And that brings me to this whole conversation on eventually a unified Major League Baseball streaming package. Essentially, could they all take this over by themselves? I mean, if we're just talking about the idea alone, it's brilliant, right? No more blackouts, every game in one place, streaming across all devices, a phone, a tablet, a computer, a television, a Apple TV, you name it. It makes a lot of sense, but there's some bad math going on if they actually transition into this, and the money that they rely on and the money that's going to be difficult to make if everybody switches over to a streaming package. Now, these are 2023 revenue figures from across the 4 major pro sports leagues in North America. You kind of see where baseball sits, second and well behind the NFL in terms of 2023, but it's more about the breakdown of where baseball makes its money. And by the way, this is information from Sportico. This is where it's been generated from. But 2023 revenue, they said, was about $10.9 billion. So you do the math and you look at ticket sales being the biggest way baseball makes money. But the next two equate to what? 49% of the pie between national television and local television media. I'm going to do this math for you in just a second. And I know you're thinking, well, these are the 2023 numbers. Don't you have 2024 numbers? Yes, I absolutely do. We're going to have to extrapolate a little bit because I don't have different percentages, but I do have a total revenue number that's different. Baseball said that in 2024, their revenue was $12.1 billion. So I've punched the numbers, I put in the percentages, and 49% of $12.1 billion is 5.8 something. I'll have that number for you in just a second. But it is interesting, right, to see where the money comes from, how baseball and its teams make all their money. And team sponsors and concessions and parking, they do equate for 20%. And again, ticket sales are at 31%, but nothing like the combination of national and local TV rights, which are about 50% of the total pie. 5.341, was my math that far off? 5.341 billion is the baseline. And there's no other way to put it. If you instantly want to make what you made last year and continue to grow on that, then baseball in their first year of going to this unified streaming package, if it were this year, they would need to make 5.341 billion off of their streaming properties. How do you do that? There's a number of different ways you could slice this cake, right? Different packages and bigger packages, smaller packages. You could offer some packages of individual teams or a division or an All-American League package or streaming on weekends only. You could offer all these different a la carte services because it's streaming that way. But it comes down to this. You would need 20 million paying subscribers at the cost of $267 per season to make $5.341 billion. So I know most people think, is that a lot? Is that the price is kind of a lot? And we can dive into that in just a second. But 20 million paying subscribers compared to like what the NFL does, I'll give you that comparison in just a second. Let me just tell you right now, that's a lot. That's unattainable, I would think, based on everything else, for baseball instantly or maybe even forever. So again, you can cut this cake a bunch of different ways. Maybe it's more subscribers at a lot smaller cost. Maybe it's a bigger cost and you need only fewer subscribers. But it is a hefty buy-in price. I've looked across the league right now. I'm seeing about $200. For example, viewers in Colorado, they can get Rockies games plus every other game across the league as part of Rockies.tv for about $200 this season. So would everybody across the league be willing to pay that much to get all the games? And could Major League Baseball gather 20 million subscribers? Now, there's also this. You've got to pay to produce these games. You've got to hire announcers and broadcasters and hosts and reporters and producers and graphics operators and audio and camera people and technical directors. Like, I could go down the list. It's a very expensive proposition to produce, to like actually do the production on and transmit these games. That is not for free. There's also that cost, but there's also the benefit that if you control your own property, like MLB streaming would be, you have the ability to sell unlimited sponsorships and partnerships and endorsements. You get to control the growth and the partnerships and the revenue you make off of that all by yourself. You don't have to rely on anybody else. So all of this is kind of napkin math. I want to be clear. I'm throwing these numbers out at you. They're obviously not precise. How could they be? But these give you a, ballpark idea of what baseball would have to do to make streaming work. I mentioned against the NFL averaged 17.5 million viewers per game across this past 2024 season. So that gives you an idea of how many people are watching. So there's that to know, but only an estimated, we don't know this number for certain, an estimated 4 to 8 million subscribers pay for NFL Sunday Ticket. And that's pretty popular. There's a lot of people who spend more than they would like, and it's in the several hundreds of dollars range. But 4 to 8 million buy Sunday Ticket. Do you think baseball could get 20 million a year at almost $270 a year? Maybe. Maybe not. I'll leave that up for you to decide. Let me know in the comment section below if not to say that if you would do it or not. Do you think 20 million people across the world? That's the other thing about this. Doesn't have to be just the United States anymore, right? If they open this up globally and make this one unified streaming package, they'll have the opportunity to sell this globally and worldwide. But the popularity of NFL, it's got to be understood. NFL broadcast accounted for 72 of the 100 most watched television shows across the board in 2024. So that's how popular NFL is. And they could only get 4 to 8 million paying subscribers for a similar type package, Sunday Ticket. In terms of the team regional broadcasts, and I do want to point this out because this also matters, right? If we're going to this streaming package, all of this either goes away or changes or morphs or dissolves. I don't know. Nobody knows how this part would go. What about all these existing deals? Right now, you've got 7 major league teams controlled by MLB local media, which is basically the start of the streaming packages. So about a quarter of the league, let's say, is already in the bucket on this. 7 other teams are on partially owned regional sports networks, essentially teams like the Cubs, Dodgers, Mets, Nats. They own part of the network that they're on. There's 7 other teams with a Diamond Sports Network. Those were teams that just renegotiated their deals to stay on Diamond. 3 are with NBC Sports. 3 are sharing an RSN, a regional sports network, with other professional sports teams like the Astros. The Pirates share one with the Penguins, I know that. And the White Sox, I don't know where they went. They used to be on NBC, but they're sharing a network with another team. It's got to be the Bulls, right? 3 teams of Major League Baseball have 100% ownership of their regional sports network. Toronto, Seattle, and the Texas Rangers just started their own regional sports network. Kind of the problem is here, now you've got to get all these different teams on the same page. And then there's also this huge factor. If Major League Baseball goes to a streaming package, like a unified streaming package, and all the games are in one place and you got to pay to get all the games, will there be any games available to watch free of charge or at an already basically assumed cost? Like you're paying for cable so you get all the channels, so you get the games? That remains to be seen. Could it be that Major League Baseball games, like to do this right, if you're going to pay for a streaming package, you want to get all the games? Are there still going to be some games that are not behind a paywall? Or will they all be behind a paywall? And if they are all behind a paywall, how does that impact the growth and the popularity of Major League Baseball as a business? Essentially, what can you put behind the paywall that people will pay for? And what can you put in front of the paywall that is free of charge that sometimes has to be your most popular stuff? What about the postseason? How do you do this? How do you do this successfully so that you can charge people to watch what they want to watch, but also make it free and available enough so that you can grow your game and interest in your game and not make it so exclusive? I would think that this change happens around 2028, or at least that could be an aiming point right now. the ESPN national rights contract. It was initially through the 28th season. Now it's only through 25, and we'll see what baseball does. I would assume that whoever they partner with is probably a 3-year deal just to get them to 28 to figure out what's next. There were a lot of revised deals, those Bally's Sports Network teams. A lot of them did a 3-year deal for 25, 26, and 27 to be ready for something else in 28. And obviously this 3-year time period, it gives the league and teams the ability to ramp up into this. It's not like you have 3 months to figure it out, but even 3 years is going to go by pretty quickly. Here's my takeaways. Stating the obvious, baseball revenues, like if they jump into this pool altogether, they could take a serious hit. I think that's obvious. I think if they fall short on subscriber numbers or the cost they charge, it's just going to put them in a different spot. Could they make it up eventually? Maybe. But at some point, instantly, they're going to suffer for a certain period of time. Creativity will help. Like I said, different packages, maybe offering certain things to get more subscribers in. But that creativity is not going to fix everything. At some point, you need to make a certain amount of dollars. Otherwise, this model just doesn't go where the old deals used to get you. Can you really get 100% buy-in from the teams? That's another issue. All those teams were in different situations that I just showed you for their regional deals. If they have to give all of those up, some teams are really happy with their deals and situations. Others are just saying, hey, we don't know what to do. We'll follow the trend. Baseball show us the way. But can you really get 100%? Because you need 100% of teams to buy into this to actually make it a unified streaming package. I'll say all the negatives here, but I still feel like for baseball, it seems like a necessary evolution. Maybe it's the evolution of they were going to find a struggling fate in the TV side of it anyway, and the revenue deals and the national and the local media. Maybe it's a changing landscape. And maybe they had to take a hit eventually, but maybe this is the hard but smart thing to do now to best prepare themselves for the future, to take this over, to run your own business. Now, granted, there could be some transition into that too. Baseball has not been doing their own television production for a long time. It's only been a couple years in those small handful of teams. They've just started to jump in this pool. We'll see how it goes and where it goes from here. So, yeah, I mean, there's been some interesting stuff. And again, I want to point out TV deals are a big part of baseball revenue, and how the teams spend and what they spend on their players and contracts they're already committed to. They were expecting things to go a certain way. Now they're not. We'll see who replaces the ESPN deal. We'll see what happens in a couple years. And it just looks like a struggle right now. It's a good idea, but a hard idea if baseball goes to unified streaming. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments section below. Also, thumbs up while you're down there. That helps me and this video and this channel. And also, don't forget to go down there and subscribe, so I can definitely see you back here next time.